And I want to irritate all the right people, all the people that we all find uniquely irritating. And it's this permanently offended, snowflakey, cancel culture mob who descend like a pack of hornets on anything they can get themselves into, trying to suppress everyone's right to an opinion, trying to tell us all how to think, how to act, how to laugh, what to find funny, what statues to revere, what parts of history are acceptable, what part.
Enter Morgan, one of the loudest voices in today's culture wars, and he's not pulling any punches. Love him or hate him, he's a wrecking ball, crashing straight into woke culture, and it's hard not to be impressed. He takes on the topics most people tiptoe around: gender debates, Hollywood hypocrisy, and the madness of cancel culture, with a full throttle style that leaves no space for work.
Nothing more than telling the rest of us how we should live and how we should think. It's heavy on the preach, light on the practice. This week's stars and supermodels flew in on private jets, taking a very well-earned break from hectoring us about their carbon footprint. Attention to detail for the Met Gala in New York, and what is now routinely a nauseating annual romp of tone-deaf extravagance became a glistening exhibition of Hollywood.
Let's be honest, we all know exactly who Piers is trying to provoke. The permanently offended crowd. The people who live in a constant state of outrage, ready to cancel anyone who doesn't march in perfect lockstep with their approved way of thinking. They swoop in like a swarm of hornets, trying to police opinions, dictate what jokes we're allowed to laugh at, and even decide which parts of history we're allowed to remember. But here's what makes Piers different: he doesn't care at all. Being hated or cancelled isn't a threat to him. It's practically a badge of honor every time he pushes back. He's exposing the absurdity of it all, a rare thing in today's entertainment and media landscape. Quick favor before we continue: if you're enjoying this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of people who watch never subscribe, and while it's free for you, it makes a huge difference for us. Have you subscribed yet? Awesome, thank you so much for the support. Now, let's get back into it. Take his infamous stance on gender identity in sports. This one was classic. Piers posed a simple, almost laughable question. Could Erling Haaland, one of the best male soccer players in the world, just declare himself a woman and start playing in women's leagues? At 6'4", Haaland is a goal-scoring machine. It would be absurd, right? But according to woke logic, if he says he's a woman who's allowed to disagree.
Says, I now identify as a woman, play in the Norwegian national women's team.
City. Massive.
He's the best striker in the world. He's 6'4".
Yeah.
He's a massive beast. He scores goals every 10 seconds in the men's game. Are you happy?
If he suddenly decided to become trans, to go through all of the horror.
Actually, you don't have to go through anything.
Just
stuff I need.
No, you go through nothing.
He self-identifies as trans. He deals with all of the pushback on social media, the death threats, everything that he's going to get as a result of that, and then says, I want to become a woman, I want to identify as a woman. Then, you know, the team would be able to legitimately make a decision as to whether or not.
Perfect example of how the woke crowd pushes. The idea that anyone who identifies as something automatically is that thing, no questions asked. Piers tore that argument apart. He made it clear that letting biological men compete in women's sports doesn't just bend the rules, it obliterates them. It wipes out decades of hard-fought progress in women's athletics. And here's the kicker: this so-called inclusivity isn't fair at all. It's not progress, it's a direct attack on fair competition.
Erling Haaland playing women's football, which of course would destroy women's football. Congratulations. Women's rights nil.
I didn't.
But look.
I didn't know who Erling Haaland is. I didn't know
leave it there.
Power to destroy women's football.
Biological matters, right?
Yeah.
And men, born as men, should be playing women's sport. Rapino, free speech.
Wasn't just tossing out hypotheticals, he backed it up with real-world examples. Take Leah Thomas, the transgender swimmer who went from being an average male competitor to absolutely dominating women's swimming almost.
We're going to look back on this period of the existence of planet Earth and think, what the hell were we doing? How was this insanity being allowed to happen? And it'll probably culminate in a 6'6" transgender athlete winning the 100 meters women's race at the Olympics by about 50 yards. I mean, that's what's going to
shattered records left and right, igniting outrage among female athletes who suddenly found themselves competing against someone with an undeniable biological advantage. Let's be real, this isn't inclusivity, it's insanity. And Piers said what so many people were already thinking but were too afraid to say out.
As we just heard, was not just the tallest boy in her college when she was competing as a biological male, but obviously the tallest girl as well. How can any of this be
better? There was one interview Piers did that might go down as one of the most jaw-dropping moments in modern debate. In the middle of a heated clash over identity politics, Piers at his absolute peak dropped the question, "Why can't I identify as a black lesbian?"
Why can't I identify as a black lesbian?
Well, firstly, I mean, it was.
I'm serious. If I can identify as anything without any need to prove I'm actually what that is, why can't I, on International Women's Day, say I'm Piers Morgan, I'm a black lesbian?
I think taking it to a kind of absurd status.
And yes, he was dead serious. The second that question hit the airwaves, you could practically hear the collective gasp from the woke brigade. His opponent left completely stunned, with nothing to...
It's not difficult, is it, Angelica? I mean, that is what a woman is.
I mean, I don't know why you're obsessed with defining it. Like, what is a man? Like, why do we need these arbitrary...
A man is a male, adult human. I mean, that's it.
Right, okay, I don't know that we need
these are just biological facts, but they're just facts. They're not arguable.
If identity is purely subjective, if anyone can declare themselves anything without verification or standard, where does it end? Piers wasn't mocking people who face genuine struggles with identity. In fact, he's been clear about respecting those who undergo legitimate transitions. What he can't respect is the idea that someone can just wake up one morning, decide to be something else entirely, and then demand the rest of the world go along with it. That's a slippery slope, and Piers made sure everyone saw just how absurd it could get.
Big thing, right? Along with the question, what is a woman? There's now a big debate where British political leaders have been asked about whether a woman can have a penis, given varying answers. The British Prime Minister says no. The Labour leader says 99% of women do not.
1111, and while we're on the subject of absurdity, let's talk about Hollywood, the global capital of hypocrisy. No one loves lecturing the rest of us more than the Hollywood elite. They preach about saving the planet while racking up frequent flyer miles on their private jets. Piers tore into this double standard, using the Met Gala as a prime example. Celebrities strutted down the red carpet in designer outfits, fresh off their Gulfstreams, while lecturing everyone else about climate change and carbon footprints. The irony. You could cut it with a knife, but Hollywood's hypocrisy doesn't stop there. Take Disney's brilliant idea to remake Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, only this time cut out the dwarves altogether in the name of progress. Piers didn't let that one slide either. He called it out for what it was. Not progress, not inclusivity, just plain ridiculous.
People who, it seems to me, who've really suffered in all this are the 6 dwarf actors who would have expected to have roles in this remake in a massive Hollywood blockbuster, who are now not going to have that experience, or the money, or the fame that may have come with that. What is your response to that?
Instead of protecting the dwarf community, Disney's decision actually robbed dwarf actors of one of the few iconic roles created specifically for them. It's one thing to talk about inclusivity, but this wasn't that. It was virtue signaling at its worst. Disney thought they were scoring points for progress, but all they really did was alienate and anger the very community they claimed to be defending.
I totally agree with you. And the irony is that they profess, these progressives, to want to do this to protect you. Right, they protect dwarf actors from being, somehow smeared. But you don't feel that way at all.
Spoke up about this, and that was my issue. He had in the past no issue cashing checks that were made for dwarf roles like Elf and all of that. Yes, he blew away the barriers when he did his roles that weren't necessarily made for a dwarf, but the Elf role was made for a dwarf. Check cleared just fine. So now that he's gone and done that, the progression of dwarf actors, it doesn't
hold back on Disney, blasting their move as a complete failure dressed up as progress. And speaking of failures, let's talk Madonna. Oh boy, Piers has never been one to mince words, and after her appearance at the Grammys, he went all in. Her new look had people scratching their heads. And Piers cut straight to the point. She looked like she was ready for Halloween. Brutal, right? But he didn't stop there. He called her an old joke. Harsh, yes, but let's be honest. It's not exactly an uncommon opinion about Madonna these days.
When I saw these pictures, I once again thought, my God, what's she done to herself? But B, the constant attention seeking. She was making horrible signs with Sam Smith. She was doing all sorts of stuff as normal, the normal attention seeking. And it just doesn't, the act doesn't play when you're in your mid-60s.
She clapped back on Instagram, accusing Piers of pushing ageism and misogyny. She argued that the world is quick to dismiss women once they're past a certain age, while men get a free pass. And in some ways, she's not wrong. But Piers fired right back, reminding everyone that every time he's crossed paths with Madonna, she's been, in his words, a rude little madame. Their feud was the perfect snapshot of Piers in action. Even celebrities can't escape his brutal honesty. But here's the bigger picture. The reason Piers goes after all of this is because he believes woke culture isn't just irritating, it's dangerous. To him, it's no longer about equality, it's about control. A culture where people are told exactly how to think, act, and speak or risk being cancelled. He even compares it to fascism. Extreme? Maybe. But when free speech is under constant threat, and people are too afraid to voice their opinions out of fear of being shamed, attacked, or silenced by the woke mobbits.
Woke.
Right, okay.
By the original, I think that most people in the 60s, 70s, and 80s wanted to see better racial equality and social equality. Most people. But that's what the original definition of woke was. The modern day woke is nothing to do with that. The modern day woke is a form of fascism. Okay, so you will abide by our rules or you get destroyed. That's the difference to me.
Social media is pouring gasoline on the fire. Algorithms spoon-feed people only what they want to see, trapping them in echo chambers where their own viewpoint feels like the only right one. Debate has been replaced by outrage mobs, shouting matches, pylons, and digital witch hunts for anyone who dares step out of line. Piers argues this isn't progress, it's regression. Instead of building bridges or fostering understanding, woke culture supercharged by social media is driving us deeper into tribalism.
Where consensus, where you reach points of agreement through debate, and you don't try and shame or cancel each other for having different opinions, because that's at the core of this. You know, they call themselves liberals. They're not liberal. Liberalism isn't about an inability to tolerate other opinions. It's the opposite. Right? You're supposed to tolerate and respect other opinions.
Piers Morgan isn't just taking swings at celebrities or mocking political correctness for sport. He's making a much bigger point about where society is headed. If we keep marching down this path of forced conformity, we risk losing the very foundation of democracy itself: free speech, open debate, and respect for differing opinions. And Piers, he's not about to let that slip away
even
without a
agreed
fight.
With my opinion, just so that I was entitled to one. That in that moment said to me how ridiculous this culture has got. Ridiculous. And I'm delighted that Sharon is now going to be back on Talk TV in the UK, in the show after mine, on a show called The Talk.
Whether you agree with him or not, Piers Morgan has cemented himself as a force to be reckoned with. He's not afraid to take on the woke crowd, call out Hollywood hypocrisy, or push back against anyone trying to silence free speech. And honestly, it's refreshing to see someone say out loud what most people are too scared to even whisper. But what